Hey, what's up? It's Michael. Um, so I wanted to just do another video real quick. Like the new hair, it's not new. It's like backed by popular demand. I did this with my hair when I was in jail. The last time I was in jail, to be honest. And you know what I thought about when I did it? I think my son would have really dig my haircut. I miss him like crazy. I think about him a lot. And when I do, I have trouble keeping my emotions back, but it is what it is. Um, Man, like thinking about it right now, just, geez. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. These videos take people's time, and I don't want to take your time in that kind of area. You know what I mean? I'm here to help anybody and everybody who's willing to get the help. Look, what I intend to do with these videos, the most important part is that people will learn and understand that you're not alone. I know there's tons of people out there, millions of people, and all of them think they're the only ones. Like the only ones that feel bad, the only people that have depression, the only people that can't pay their bills, the only people that are, even the rich people just wonder, what am I going to do with all this money, and just spend it ridiculously and never think about the people who need it, except when it's time to pay their taxes, and so they get a tax break and they donate 10 or 20% of their income. How do I know this? Because I'm learning this very easily by the people that I know. Not knocking them. I love every one of them. I'm so proud to have such wealthy individuals in my life, not because I want their money, but because I can understand life from their perspective. And I've never understood that until recently. So, look, I've lived with plenty, I've lived with not so much, and I lived with absolutely nothing. I have a ton of experience in all of that. A lot of the bad things that have happened in my life have happened circumstantially because I made poor choices. Early on in my life, before I reached adulthood, it was just, man, I was just like a steam, I was like a dozer, you know what I mean? Anything in my way, I just get out of my way. I'm just gonna get high and do whatever the fuck I want to do, and that translated in a lot of tragic things in my life. Losing my family, being separated from my kids. It was a tough thing, but every time I realized that, man, I need to do something different. So I worked really hard in prison, out of prison, to try to do the best that I can for my family. But being an addict is it's one of those things where, in your mind, at least in my mind, I didn't believe I was an addict. I didn't believe that I had emotional or depression disorders either. But I was told that through my whole childhood, that I was ADD, I was manic depressive, I had learning disabilities. All that painted a fucking picture about me that was not true. I found out recently I've been on what you might call it. What's the term? I'm sorry. What's the term I think about? I've been diagnosed. I've been undiagnosed of having some severe mental disorder like depression or manic depression or bipolar, whatever. I mean, it's gone. It has a different name throughout the years. It's gone to bipolar, manic depressive, or bipolar, this, that, and the other thing. Look, the reason why I had problems when I was a teenager is because early on in my life, when my mom didn't understand me and was scared to death that I was going to turn out like my dad or other people in my family, because she's seen how they grew up and how it affected them, and the reason for her choice, she's told me that she decided to do the divorce and pull the trigger, is because she didn't want me to be around my dad anymore, which is understandable. I saw my dad often, almost every other week, if not every weekend, through those years. But there wasn't a lot of support from him. I don't think he understood what I was going through. It didn't matter to him. He was been an alcoholic for 40 years. He was an immature father, and I love him. I've forgiven him for all that. The reason being is that people are people. They are who they are. Every person you ever met, every person you will meet, they're not going to be the same out front, like their personality, the way they grew up, the way they didn't grow up. What is important to understand is that we're all human beings, and because of that, you need to be. I would say, please think about it. When I say you, I mean you in general. When I'm talking to me, I'm not saying you specifically. What I'm asking you to do is to open up your mind and be free from any doubt, worry, and fear, anything that's holding you down. Now, part of that is faith. The other part is work. Um, I have every reason to hate myself, to be self-loathing and depressed, and never get off my feet, and go eat a gun. I'm not going to do it. The reason being is because I have somebody who's been chasing me my whole life, and this somebody is actually divine. He's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He has not whatsoever let me down at any time I've ever needed him. You can say, well, I've let him down. Of course I didn't leave him and let him down. He knows me. He knows everybody. He knows what the situation is. And even though I met him when I was like 13 years old, I didn't understand how to build a relationship. I didn't know anything about relationships. All I cared about was dope and girls at like 10. And that's the craziest thing. That's just who I was. Probably because life had changed for me when it came to my family. Mom was no longer mom anymore. Mom was mom and dad, and she spent a lot of time at work and never spent any time at home. And then I would spend 3 or 4 days apart from home. She got tired, quit calling the cops. She just let it be because she knew someday, a week from now, I'll be home. And that's terrible. I never realized at the time what kind of shit I put my mom through. I am so proud to have the mom that I have because she has been through it all. She's lost 2 children, my brother David and my sister Elise. She has dealt with all kinds of tragedy. Her dad, when I was younger, I remember how bad and how much that hurt her. Maybe the first real time in her life that she's experienced a death in her family. If you know what I mean. Somebody who she adored and loved very much was my dad, was my grandpa. I barely remember him. I think he was the coolest guy in the world because all he did was have fun with us kids. He never yelled at us, never got stupid, and we barely got to see him, but I remember some good stuff when I was a kid. I was a mama's boy, to be honest. My dad, what was my dad going to do? Hit the booze, and he just had a way about him. He wasn't crazy or nothing. I think he just made poor choices, and those poor choices eating him up every day of his life. Do I understand how it is? Absolutely. I have recently been able to deal with all the pain and suffering that I've had to go through, and I apologize and sincerely regret hurting anybody I've ever hurt. That includes my ex-girlfriend, my kids, from the top down, my grandkids, and including all the people who would once call me friend. I'm still the same guy in a sense. I posted something the other day, and it came to me. It's mine, and I quote from Michael Merriman. I'm not trying to put it all back together. I'm trying to get it together so I can get it all back, or so I can have it all back. What I'm talking about is life in general. A job, a place to live, a significant other, my kids, my grandkids. Very important to me. Really important to me. Now, I've lost a best friend, somebody I've known since I was a child, and we were just strange together ever since we met. It's a wonderful story, really it is, how we've gone in and out of each other's lives and what we've done and how we ended up back together so many times, and all the tragic shit that they had to go through, including my kids and her children, who I adopted as mine within the first year of us dating when I got out of prison in 2007. And I was very careful not to say anything that I didn't mean. In fact, I remember hurting my son's feelings because he asked me, is it okay if I call you dad? And I said, well, we'll see. And that was fucked up. Even got scolded by my girlfriend how fucked up that was, and she was right. But I really had taken a road towards my adopted daughter because I understood her. I understood her pain. I understood what she was going through. I just wanted to protect her. I wanted to love her. I wanted to make her feel special. I was very strict at home. And then I started compromising those things because I didn't want to hurt them. I was wrong. I should have kept it straight. I should have kept it real. I should have kept my personal life and the things that I wouldn't or shouldn't have done apart from them and hid them better. I didn't mean to go down that road. I ended up going down that road because I hurt my back at work. I got strung out on painkillers. Next thing you know, I'm doing methamphetamines again. All the shit I swore I said I would never do again. I was clean for 6, almost 7 years. 2 years, the first 2 years I got out of the joint, I was rocking it. Most people don't do what I did or was successful as I was. I was on IPS. IPS is intense probation. That year, maybe 4 to 7 people out of 30 something were able to get through IPS through the team that I had. I remember this, and I knew before I was going to get out of prison that if I didn't have a car, if I didn't have the opportunity to go to school, if I didn't have a job, all that, I would have failed, and I was right. Fortunately, my mom helped me out with a car. I got into AAI right off the rip. I got a really good job at a place called CRM off the rip, and they came to me and said I couldn't be a full-time student and a full-time employee, which really screwed things up for me. And you know, that's happened to me a lot throughout my life. I'd be doing the best I could possibly do, and somebody would come along and destroy it. And rather than revamping and figuring out a way past it, I would let it crush me to the point where I couldn't figure it out, because I just was so upset with myself and everything else. Why didn't I see this coming? And what was I do to stop? How could I stop it? There's nothing I could do. When they said no, and I had to keep my job because I was paying child support for my 2 children, and I had other people that I had to take care of, and it was my choice to do that. Regardless of our relationship, it didn't matter. I was never going to let my girlfriend suffer. I was never going to let her kids suffer. I was going to be there no matter what. That was my intention. Even before we even decided to get married, which happened too late in life, and too many burned bridges, too much bitterness, too much misunderstanding. We just weren't toxic for each other, you know, not in that sense. We weren't toxic at all, but what happened was we just grew apart from each other. We spent too much time apart, and each time things were different, and I was different, she was different, and she grew out of me and got rid of me. And I laugh because it is what it is, man. You know what I mean? It didn't feel very good, you know, a few months ago. It crushed me, you know. It had me bawling like a freaking baby, you know, and I'm dead serious about that. I've never cried like that before in my life, but I understand, and I have looked at it from her perspective and from everybody else's perspective. Whether I agree or not, it doesn't matter, because that conversation is never going to go anymore. If somebody is bound and determined to stake to their ground and stake their claim and say that this is the way it was, well, that's what you think. Too bad. That's not the reality of it. You know, drugs are fucked up. They fuck up your brain. They fuck up your body. You know, it really took me down a bad road real fast because I was mixing 2 drugs that don't belong, and one of the most powerful ones I was doing was fentanyl. I never saw that fucking drug coming. I never saw it coming. Because I've done heroin before, but you're talking about a drug that's 100 times more potent than heroin. So it became extremely addictive, and I led more towards that drug than my drug of choice, which would have been methamphetamines, because I, if you can tell, in a wheelchair for a good reason. Almost 3 years ago, in May, I was homeless, or chose to be homeless because I felt guilty and ashamed about everything that had happened, and really I was going through something a little bit deeper than that, and I figured that out recently. So that's why I've been able to forgive myself and to forgive others, because it's neither one of our faults. What it is just being human, and I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know how to handle what I was going through, and I didn't know how to discuss it, nor did I even approach it. I didn't figure it out until I got spun out, strung out, and dumbed out. What are you calling dumb? I was being a dumbass, really. I'm fortunate to be alive, and I'm very fortunate that I ain't back in prison, which still could happen, to be honest, but I hope it doesn't. I'm doing everything to prevent that from happening right at this moment. But not for that reason, for the reason that this gentleman right here has a heart so big, you want to be able to carry it. They say that the average or the weight of the human heart is 10 ounces. Mine's definitely bigger than that. And that's one of the reasons I've suffered all these years, is because I wear it on my sleeve, and I didn't hide myself or what I felt like or what I wanted to do and who I was very much. But the thing is that, I didn't protect myself in the manner of which I should have. When it was time to say a little white lie, or avoid any kind of circumstances that might shake my life up for good, I was pretty good at that. Growing up, I was probably the best liar you ever met in your life. Now I can't tell a lie to save my life, because it's just not, I learned not to manipulate and to lie. I think it's wrong. I think it's evil. I think there's a lot of things that we do in life that are evil. I've obviously been a fornicator my whole life. I never got married before marriage, and I didn't do the right thing. Even though I knew it was right, I still didn't do it. And it was in my heart, and I knew I was supposed to do better, and I still didn't do it. I like I said, I made, sacrifices for other people and did what they wanted me to do, or what I thought they wanted me to do. Even sometimes that was crazy, because they didn't even want that person. They were looking for the real me, but yet I was trying to be something I wasn't. Especially early on in my relationship with my girlfriend. After I decided to get high, I wanted her to see the dark side of me, because I thought she enjoyed that more. The reality is, it might have been fun for a minute, but she hates that guy to death, and she has every right to. That dude is a jerk. Not to ramble on, we're coming up on 20 minutes. I'm going to cut it off on 20 minutes. I'm going to figure out a way to put this together where I can stay on point. Anyways, from the very beginning of this mission, which started just recently, I tell everybody that I'm working with lots of people to help people who are poverty-stricken, people who are homeless, people who are drug addicts, alcoholics, who have mental disorders, anywhere from depression to self-harm. A lot of people do that. People are just trying to die at this time when they're out there doing that. I've seen it all, but I don't know it all. This is the purpose for these videos, and what I'm doing is because I want people to friend me, to look up my videos on YouTube, and be a part of my life, because I don't have good friends anymore. Want to know why? Because I've chose to be with those. It's like Bad Company. You ever heard that song? Bad Company Till the Day I Die. It's a really good song, and my favorite band was recently Five Finger Death Punch does a really good cover of it. I would like to do it myself. I'm a very good singer. I was a worship leader for 3 years and the leader of the house band in prison. And believe me, if you can entertain 2,000 inmates, all male, and they dig it and they like it, you're pretty fucking good. And so recently I've been doing that just in karaoke. I have fun with it. I posted a video about it, gave it to a lot of friends, and they love it. And so do I. I just do it for fun. That ship has sailed, which I should have followed my dream when I was a kid, but why didn't it? Drugs stole my dream. I will write a song about how drugs and women stole my dream, and that's a fact. But anyways, like I said, I'm here to start the conversation about our community. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm concerned about Phoenix, Scottsdale, Glendale, all the surrounding cities of this particular place, the metropolitan area. I want to make connections with the local police department, all the police departments, the clinics like CBI, other places like that, sober living, 90-day commitment places. Listen, if we're trying to take a square peg, so to speak, and put it in a round hole, it's not going to work. But we can change that situation to where every pig fits through every hole. Why? is because we're not all square. Some of us are round, some of us are rectangles, some of us are oval, some of us are octagon, whatever you want to look at it as I do. We're not all the same on the outside, or how we grew up, how we lived, but we are all human, and we all bleed red. No matter what, we are here to stay. And until the Lord comes and takes us home, we need to figure it out. Why would you want to live in a hellish situation? Why would you want to live in despair? Why would you want to be like me recently? I dreaded every day of my life, hoping that somebody would just cap me, take it out. I put myself in a lot of dangerous situations and allowed myself to be in those situations, and hoping that, that outcome would have happened. But I would never purposely hurt myself. I never have, even as bad as I felt recently. Deep down inside, I realized that I deserve better, and I'm going to live a better life from now on, for me, for you, for my family, and for the rest of the world. Reason being is that, man, I've been through the ringer. I've been in prison. Obviously, I got to 20 minutes, too long. I've been in prison 13 years of my adult life. Every time, it wasn't deserved. It was about drugs, or it was something else. Possession, 2.5. I was railroaded and accused of selling drugs, and I got 5 years. I wasn't selling drugs. I was homeless. The only reason I had drugs is some guy offered to pay me to get these things because he didn't have the knowledge or know-how, and he was just trying to get high. I did. He's not allowed to see my dealer or deal with other people. That's the way it works on the streets. We don't share information like that. So that would be like being a snitch. But anyways, they gave me 5 flat, and I did 1,875 days, I think, something like that. At one stretch, I did 4 years at another 2.5, and another 2.5, and a 1. It's ridiculous. None of those times should I have been in prison, but I allowed those things to happen in my life, and I dealt with them. And every time I was in prison, I was clean. The only time I ever got high was in county jail, and that's a whole another story. If you friend me and we're personal, and I want to share that with you, I will. Not that they can do anything about it, it's just not appropriate to talk about as a whole. But in prison, I always stayed clean, and I worked really hard. First time I was in prison, I had a 4th grade average as far as education, because of the schools and the psychiatrists and everybody making me out to be something I wasn't. I happened to be. I remember when I was sent to the principal's office in junior high, and the principal sat me down and said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're wasting your life at the moment. You're in LD.